Hi. So I just spent like an hour trying to record another bone video, and then the recording disappeared. So I breathed a great sigh, and I'm gonna go home and do it there. Um, but the video I was recording was the second half of the bone lecture, and I'm doing it for posterity so that we have things in order. But I don't really need to, and that's because the video that I supplied to you guys in the page on Canvas titled uh, Bone Video Collection includes a lecture that I did for another class, but that has all of the same information as the rest of the bone lecture. So the reason I'm making this video is that a student came up to me and she was having a hard time figuring out in the videos how to identify which content is important and testable, and she was having a hard time sorting through all of that in the book as well, and a couple other things. And so it occurred to me that if she was having a hard time with some of this stuff, maybe other people are as well. So what I wanted to do is give you a little tutorial for some ways that you can make sure that you're directing your attention towards the right lecture content, because the last thing you want to do is think that you studied wrong. Students are concerned about that, I know. So I will show you a few things, just our tips and tricks for finding information and sorting information that's important from information that's less important, and some stuff to just basically streamline your workflow as a student. So that's what we're going to do here. Excuse me, my nose itches. Okay, so we're going to go to your playlist right here. And I'm going to go ahead and pause that. And you'll notice that I added the Histology Chapter 8 Part 1 video to the bottom of this playlist. The reason being that this is a lecture that I did for another class, Histology, which is Biology 455 at PSU, but the bone part of this lecture covers all of the same things that I do in 241, including what's in bone matrix, the different kinds of bone cells, how the bone cells contribute to calcium homeostasis, the hormones involved, both kinds of ossification, all of it's there. And so I figured, why not provide it to you? But because it's not labeled Biology 241, students can be a little bit off-put by its contents. So what I wanted to show you is how to deal with that problem. So let's start it. And then I'm just going to let the ad run its course. Okay. So let's go to the beginning. So you can see Bio 455, bone, nervous muscle. So we're doing the bone part here. And you'll hear me talking over and drawing on top of the screen. I'm going to pause this for a moment and go to Canvas. Okay. So what we will see here, once it gets itself together, I'm just going to go to one of the Canvas shells. So what you'll do is navigate down to Lecture Unit 1, and you'll notice that right at the very top, there's Lecture Unit 1 Learning Outcomes. So students are often interested in having a study guide. The learning outcomes are your study guide. Okay, so let's have a look at the learning outcomes. So note it says the following learning objectives will be on your Unit 1 test. Use learning activities, videos, and lecture notes to help you learn the content. As for, of course, also your book, obviously, and any other tools I offer you. So what you'll look at and see is there's course learning objectives and student learning outcomes. So let's connect these, and I'm going to use a bone specific one. So one of them is C, or excuse me, not C. There we go. Sorry, I'm looking at what we're doing here. Intercellular junctions. Okay, list the major functions of the skeletal system. So this is a very broad one, and you'll see that all of these are very broad. So listing the major functions of the skeletal system is a pretty wide net. So if we go down to student learning outcomes, we get down to bone tissue down here. And now we have lists that are a little bit more specific, but note, they all start with a verb, something that you should be able to do or show me. So list and describe the cellular and extracellular components of bone tissue. So you should be able to come up with the different kinds of bone cells and what the matrix of bone is made out of, what the non-living stuff is. Identify the microscopic structure of compact bone and spongy bone, another thing. So many students are used to study guides that are kind of like outline format bulleted lists of everything that will be on the test or some things. And so when they don't see that, they are uncomfortable because it's not a format of study guide that they are accustomed to. But you are now in a 200 level science class and you are moving towards increasingly independent learning as you move through into upper division programs and your program of choice. So stuff's going to change, including the format of study guides. So for example, you'll notice that all of these begin with a verb, as I mentioned, and then it'll say things like explain the hormonal regulation of skeletal growth. So this is a prompt. Now, it doesn't explicitly say calcitonin, parathyroid hormone, growth hormone, estrogen, testosterone. None of those are explicitly or overtly mentioned here. But if you need to explain accurately and completely the hormonal regulation of skeletal growth, you'll need to mention all of those things and some other stuff besides. So this is a prompt for you to explain, and if you can't explain, go figure out how to. So you can kind of treat this as a worksheet if you want, but with regard to locating content relevant to these outcomes in videos, there's a couple tricks that you should have up your YouTube sleeve and other academic internet usage sleeves that can help with this. So let's say, for example, that you are interested in, let's see, the function of osteoblasts and osteoclasts. So you're saying to yourself, I'm going to spend this study session learning about those particular bone cells and what they do in growth, repair, and remodeling. And so then you go over to this video, and there's about an hour and 12 minutes worth of bone content. What you don't want to do is have to watch the entire thing to find that particular subject of interest. So here is the way you deal with that. On the bottom of the video, go to the three little dots and then push Show Transcript. So what you'll see up here is the transcript is loading, and it might take a minute because I say a lot of stuff in here. But then you'll get this, which is just this stack of text with timestamps on it. So this is the translation or transcript of what I say out loud during the video. And most of the time, YouTube is pretty good at interpreting what I say and copying it correctly. Every now and then there's a weird mistake, but now you have the transcript. So again, looking at our learning outcomes, I want to learn about osteoblasts and osteoclasts. So I'm going to do the following. With my transcript open, I'm going to hit Control F, or if you're on a Mac, Apple F. And that's going to open up a search box. And I'm going to type in osteoclasts. And notice it says 1 of 27. So I say the word osteoclast a total of 27 times during this lecture. And you can tab through using the arrow keys every single time I say it. So let's look at the first mention, which occurs at timestamp 7 minutes and 20 seconds. If you click the timestamp, it'll navigate you right to where I said that. And look, it has definitions and functions for all of the bone cells. Osteoprogenitor cells, osteoblasts, osteocytes, osteoclasts, the whole 9 yards. And it has all the same pictures as your textbook does. So let's go ahead and look at the next mention of osteoclasts. So for now, we're still on that slide. And of course, now it's taking forever to load. There we go. So I clicked on another one. In this case, we have a Mallory trichrome stained photomicrograph of bony matrix, the endosteum, including a big, huge osteoclast, and a bunch of other things of interest. And if I go down some more, I can go find, and you'll notice there's little yellow tick marks over here that show you where they are. All right, so I clicked all the way down here, and look, intramembranous ossification produces flat bones of the skull and clavicle from mesenchymal tissue. That's the exact same content that's in your book and that I would be lecturing on in your presentation. It's present here too, same exact picture. But we talk about the role of osteoclasts in this process in this particular portion of the video. So let's do another one. Calcitonin, nope. All right, role in calcium homeostasis and responds to hormones. And here I mention other hormones. So let's go see which other hormones there are. How about this one? So in this case, I'm talking about osteoporosis, and I'm talking about the role of estrogen, estradiol specifically, in calcium ion and bone density, and applying that to postmenopausal women. In this one, I am talking about calcium deficiency in children, which results in a disease called rickets or osteomalacia. And I mentioned that bone growth and development is hormone dependent there as well. So as you can see, you can use this transcript tool to find information that you're trying to learn about and study without having to slog through all the video, right? So the transcript tool is your friend. You can also do things like select all of it and copy it to have a running transcript of the verbal components of my notes and, have that read to you, for example, by a screen reader or some other kind of tool. So there's all kinds of useful things you can do with this. It's a very versatile little tool. All right, so that's one way you can use the transcript in YouTube. I'm going to show you another way using a free tool, well, trial version's free, called Speechify. So let me just go ahead and open a notepad. So here I have, oh darn it, hold on. So what I'm going to do is get rid of my search box. And I'm just going to go ahead and select some transcript text. Okay, so I've selected my text. Control C, and then I'm going to move it into my notepad. So you'll notice it still has this timestamps on it. You can get a non-timestamped version of it, but I have this app called Speechify, and I'm going to add a new text document, and I'm going to say testing Speechify, and then I'm just going to do a little bit of trimming. Trim out those timestamps. Okay, so let's just test this out. We're going to submit to Speechify. And what Speechify does is it takes text files that you upload and it reads them to you. So it tracks what is being read and it reads it to you out loud. Now, you're not hearing it at the moment because the program I'm using to screen capture here is taking over the microphone, but you would hear a British sounding narrator guy if you were to listen to this. So Speechify is an easy way to have some content read to you if you're not able to look at whatever it is you're trying to learn. Now, of course, I make podcasts for that reason also, but I want you to have all of the tools available at your disposal to get the most you possibly can out of your learning experience. So you can use Speechify to read things to you when you can't look, and that's really handy also. So the learning outcomes are what are going to be on the test. You should be able to do all of these things if you are to show me mastery for the test. This is your study guide, so there isn't another one. This is what you should be able to do. You can use it as a prompt to write out all of these things. I recommend doing that. And you can use this to find areas in the YouTube videos that are talking about specifically one objective or another using search and the transcript tool. So these are all really good skills. Speechify is a super handy tool. I just wanted to empower you to find some extra ways to sort of access and use the content available to you to maximize your learning efficiency and your success. Okay, and that's it for this video. I'm gonna go make the bone one now, again for like the 4th time, and hopefully it'll work. Thanks for your attention, and I will see you in the next video.